Welcome. Apologies for being slightly late. John Flanagan has been on to us already, straight from comms giving out. What a night in Oriel Park. 39 episodes we're doing this. This is the 39th episode. I think we're going to have a fully positive outcome tonight. We're going to bring straight in from all the way from the Windy City, Dean Pingu Arrowsmith, and all the way from Oriel Park, probably the number one reason why we're late, is Chris Clark.
I finally go back to the game and I get in trouble then for coming on late.
What do we think?
I won't go back to Oriel Park again then, is that it?
Yeah.
Sorry lads, my lawyer just said that I'm not allowed to talk, so I'll send a letter instead.
We have a fully positive podcast for the first time in a long time, I think.
I don't know. Well, Pingu's on this one, so we'll have to wait and see.
Wait till you hear who my choice is for man of the match tonight.
What did Hubin do wrong for you tonight, Pingu?
We'll get to that.
Oh, Jesus.
Chris, you were at the game. You can kick us off. What did you think?
Yeah, look, without a doubt, the best performance I've seen all season. I think the difference of having a fully fit Sean Murray is just vastly evident. You know, he chased down balls that we haven't seen someone chase down in a long, long time. I think he was just the difference today. He just seemed to run everywhere. He seemed to be everywhere. He was at the heart of everything. You know, he scored the goals. And then when you're able to bring someone like Duffy off the bench today, it's, you know, when's the last time, lads, we were in a position to have an impact from somebody from the bench? So,
yeah. It's
been a while, hasn't it? It really has been a while.
And when you mentioned Sean Murray, we talked about him all in the season, and if once he got his fitness back and he stays injury free, he's a real asset to have, whether it's coming off the bench or. But starting like tonight, it was like the Sean Murray we had originally. You know, it was himself and Jack Byrne kind of at the start of that kind of 2000 and probably was it 19 season, 18 season, and you know there was an outcry when Jack Byrne got. I remember on Twitter he got Player of the Month and Sean Murray was completely robbed of it. But I think when he's back on form and he's fit, he's almost unplayable in some games.
I think he has jumping the gun there with his. He thinks he's going to be selected for his pizza anyway for Hubin.
He's getting the order in early. Good man, Stephen.
Yeah, he's getting the order in.
Yeah, I think it was a very assured performance, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's a long time. I think, look, after this past week, you know, with the Harps game and now tonight, I think the fans just make such a big difference. I think they lifted the team. As I say, we'll talk probably a little bit more about Hoban a little bit later, but I think players like that, the senior players in the squad, have reacted the most, you know, and are really carrying the team forward now, you know, which is great to see. But I seen someone say that there's a swagger back, and it actually looked like that at times tonight. Like, we looked comfortable for the most part. We started to see flashes of what Sammy can do. I thought Han, his final ball probably wasn't great into Hubin, you know, on the ground at times, but I think Han actually done all right in there again tonight. You know, like I've kind of been saying in other pods, whenever he got a chance, he's done well in there. So, as you say, being able to start him, he puts in a decent performance, and him being able to substitute him and bring on Michael Duffy, like the last few weeks when our bodies have been getting tired, you're bringing on young lads, and it probably aren't having the same impact. If you're Sligo centre or right wing back tonight, and you see Michael Duffy coming on, you're like, oh fuck, you know. So just, it's great. Like, it would have been great maybe to see Duffy, that chance that he had in around 70 minutes or so, just after he came on. If he had a slot of that home, would have been great as well. You know, that kind of would have been the icing on the cake tonight.
Yeah, I think probably the overall thing, just going through Twitter before we come on, the overall kind of consensus is that they looked like an old Dundalk. I'm not saying we're not back to those kind of days, but it looked like, I think it was almost just like old or pre-COVID, you know, fans are back. I think fans made a massive difference. I didn't see a lot of the Finn Harps game the other night, but tonight the fans really made. I don't know whether we get the same result, and I'm not taking anything away from the players, but the fans were unbelievable tonight. I mean, you could hear, I know John Flanagan mentioned in comms before, when you could hear the shed roar and you hear them singing, you know, getting at the players, that's got to be worth. It's definitely worth an extra goal a game, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, it's massive. And even at the end, you know, Vinny and the players going around at the end of the pitch, like they were all still on the pitch, and the applause that everybody gave them was just immense. Like, you know, it's been ages since I've seen that sort of atmosphere. Everybody was jeering everybody up. And, you know, like I was in the ground to the left of the main stand, and it was funny because when the players were down warming up, they were kind of high-fiving the kids in the corner. I kind of thought even that's nice to see, you know, little things like that back happening again, because I think there's a turning of that Finn Harps match, even the first game, when you consider how well we played for so long. I think if that's a turning point of how low we've got, I think the players kind of hopefully had a look at themselves and realised this isn't good enough. There's young lads ready to step in here. When you look at Hanratty, Mayowa, and I think they just kind of went, if I don't play well enough, these are going to come in and take my position. I need to buck myself up here. And it's just been night and day the difference as it's turned. But the fans tonight were just immense. The atmosphere tonight was brilliant. It was like the old Oriel back rocking.
Yeah, and I think when you're talking about the younger players, I think now if there was ever a season where younger players are probably going to get a chance between COVID and injuries, now's the time that they're breathing down the first team's neck. Whereas years gone by, it mightn't have been that. You know, you kind of always had a nailed on place, but now it doesn't seem to be that. There's one or two that would probably be nailed on each week, but it's very few and far between. And the young lads are really getting a run at it now. Pingu, what did you think of just, you know, obviously Murray had a brace in the first half, but the probably only negative thing I took really from the whole game, really, look at Sligo with a couple of shots, decent of the ball, but their goal in particular between the Cleary and the right back the ball from Sligo, you know, when the touch was excellent, but the defending was probably the only kind of stickling point in the game. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I probably agree with that. I know Flano, because I actually missed the goal, and then I saw the replay. Flano had mentioned that I think the striker just got the right side goal side of Djokovskis, didn't he? And you know, it's and Flano would probably tell you this in the comments, it's defending 101. You know, you have to get goal side, and they just let him slip through. And you know, again, look at Peter Cherry's probably staked this claim to stay in for the next couple of weeks, and see how he does. But even his attempt to save it, I mean, I don't know what he was doing. I mean, he jumped over the shot to dive for, you know what I mean? And I don't know, maybe he just didn't know where it was going, but it just looked like a calamity of errors. And then you're thinking to yourself, well, this is back to reality of the last couple of weeks. You know, we score and then the opposition scores. But I suppose the positive is it didn't affect the team tonight. And I think that, again, just talking about the crowd again, I think a lot of that goes down to the crowd. And, you know, there's probably, again, I didn't get a chance to talk the other night. On Tuesday, I didn't get on because I was at work. But a couple of weeks ago, Bill was calling out supporters for the negativity towards players. Like, this is now all our players that came in at the start of the season are getting to see what Dundalk Football Club is about with our supporters. And I mean, I don't think anybody in the ground turned on any of the players on the pitch after that goal went in. You know, I think it almost had for me, that's what makes the big difference. You know, is Dundalk fans will back you and back you and back you until they can't anymore. You know, that kind of way. So I think for someone like Djokovskis,
will we give him a moment?
That the fans supported him and help push him forward. He was able to.
You're breaking up a fair bit on that one.
He's rushing to get his hope and feedback in a couple of minutes. He's rushing through the rest.
Do you want to keep driving, Pingu, and then we'll come back to you in a second, see if you're in a better spot?
Yeah. Can you hear me there now? Is that right?
That seems much clearer. Yeah,
that's better.
Yeah. So, sorry about this, lads. But yeah, no, I was just saying, you know, that the crowd just, like, you know, Djokovskis probably didn't do his job properly, you know, for that one. But the crowd got behind him after. You know, they didn't turn their back on him. They supported him, and that's what the Dundalk Football Club is about, and that's what our supporters are about. They'll back you, and I think that made the difference tonight compared to maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago where we concede, and then, you know, there's no way back. You know, at least our supporters tonight got behind the team, and I think that gave them a lift to just settle down again and get back playing. And look, it's not vintage Dundalk, as you say, Gally, but it was definitely it was an assured performance tonight, and it never looked like we weren't going to win. once we got the second goal, it just looked like we were in control for the rest of the match.
Yeah, like I think if you even compare it to, we'll come back here, but if you compare it to the early game against Sligo in the season, where Sligo wanted the ball, they seemed to want the ball more than us. Whereas tonight, I'm not saying we've learned just in the Sligo, but they seem to be just quicker. They seem to wanted it more. I genuinely think the fans had a massive impact on tonight's match. Now, I think we would have won on merit anyway, but I think the 4-1 probably could have been 5. Like, even when you look at what Sligo produced, they didn't produce a lot. Cherry had 1 or 2 simple saves to make. Now, simple with a goalkeeper this season is probably, putting it mildly. But I think, like, apart from really the chance, Sligo really haven't really created it. And I just thought we were just hungry for it more. We just wanted it more tonight. I think the fact that it was at Oriel, I just see the comments coming in, just on anybody that hasn't seen the draw. So the FA Cup draw was done tonight, and we drew Pats away. But the talk of the draw is that, so the way the draw worked was very simple. Well, it's supposed to be simple, but Conan Bourne didn't swirl the balls. So he just started picking one and then swirled them. So he drew out Pats. So there's a big conspiracy in theory going on that they done this on purpose. So if anybody's wondering what the comments are about, a bit of conspiracy theory there.
I was actually wondering what that was all about.
Yeah, so the camera cut him with a bowl. Yeah, he basically had a bowl of 4 balls. Right. And he didn't swirl them. He just picked one, and then started swirling the next 3 after he picked out Pats. So there's the 2 Dublin teams that we kept apart, and they're both at home.
Yeah, that's magic.
So that's why there's a bit of the Twitter's on late at the minute. I don't know if he's getting abused or
anything. On Pingu's point there, I'm just actually looking through the comments here. Like they're fairly coming in thick and fast here, so I'll try my best to get through them. But I think it was it was Kyle Mucky in there. Like he said, as soon as Sligo had equalised, the shed just erupted in noise.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it started singing. I think that's kind of the difference of what this home crowd that we've missed. I was chatting to people in Oriel tonight. We're saying, there was no fear factor for any team coming to play in Oriel Park. It was like, these are meant to be, potential champions, and maybe like somewhat of a sleeping giant, but it's one that everyone wants to get a bit of skin off. They were coming to Oriel Park. There was no fans. It was a dead rubber of a game, and teams just walked all over us as a result. I think having the fans back now, it's a little like, whoa, hang on a second, this isn't as easy as it was previous. And fans chanting, boosting the team back up again, getting a bit onto the refs all of a sudden if decisions aren't going. There was a while there where there was 2 or 3 decisions that we didn't really, we weren't really getting anything from it. And then eventually when we won a free kick, the ironic cheers went up. And I thought, it's that sort of thing. It was obviously playing in also in the ref's mind that if I don't give a free kick soon, this home crowd's going to start getting on me. And it's those little things all of a sudden. Yeah. The other thing from tonight was the bad injury for Djukovskis in the middle of the park. He seemed to kind of overextend his leg slightly. I thought that was him done for a moment on it. Like it looked
like a bit of a I wouldn't say a season ending, but it definitely looked like he jarred something. But I don't see anybody talking. There's not too much on.
No, well, the fact that he played on, you would say he must be all right. But I got worried there for a second because we seem to be coming out the other side.
It's just something you don't need. Yeah, especially at the back. It's just. But just on in particular, just in the first half, Sean Murray was. I know you mentioned at the very start, but he was like, I know we're missing Fats to the end of the season, and Patching played tonight. Done okay, but Murray on full pelt is a different animal altogether when he's fully fit and he's at it. I still don't think the pitch suits players like him, but I just thought he was excellent. Throughout the game, brilliant. But the first half in particular, I thought he took the game with the scruff of the neck. Especially even when we're used to going, unfortunately we gone 1-0 up and then we conceded straight away. But then within minutes we're back in front, and it was just like he wanted. Whether or not Will Patching is on the end of that, or in particular, his goal where he ran in from the cross. I think was it Ben? Was it that crossed it in? I can't remember.
For the first,
he just seemed to want to get to that ball before the defender more than anybody else has pretty much all season.
I think the first one was in by Sammy, was it?
Could have been, yeah.
Chris, was it a good goal? You couldn't see it on the stream.
Yeah. Well, I was delighted to hear, lads, it was probably the stream tonight. It wasn't even
like just follow the ball. It's so simple.
Yeah, it was. just you could see his run
Yeah.
when you were live at it, but it was a perfectly weighted, and he had perfectly timed his run just to meet at the front post like that. So look, we've missed those runs from players, lads. We definitely have. Gary, just so we know that, I suppose we'll do our man of the match competition in association with Tony's Pizzeria again. I'm going to throw it out there, lads. It's a landslide in one direction so far, and this player may have scored twice tonight.
It seems to be going that way.
Yeah.
I
pretty much guess who Pingus is going to be, because it's not somebody else. So
by the process of elimination.
Yeah. And like it's one of them things, big crowd in again, and you start to see a load of people that you hadn't seen in matches there for ages. So that was also good to see. And you could see people were kind of greeting people who they obviously hadn't seen in ages. But I was talking to Ken Bogan at the match tonight, and he was there with his dad and his young fella. So it was 3 generations here in the one match at it. So it's always good to see that.
And that's what's made. I mean, look, I know it's an influence on the game, but just for people getting up to Oriel Park, I know they've been getting back for weeks slowly but surely. But the last 2 games, in particular, with the numbers are so high, it's great. It's great just to hear the fans more than anything, because you couldn't. But the 500 always respected them, but you can't hear that roar because the cameras already are.
Exactly. In a 3,500 capacity stadium, and Ken will kill me if I don't mention Dylan again, because he loves our show and he wanted to mention on it. So there you go, Dylan. You got a shout out. First ever shout out, I think, on the show as well.
Yeah, he'll sleep tonight.
He'll sleep tonight. Yeah. Definitely. And there's a couple of people just commenting in exactly what we said. Just the difference there of an empty Oriel Park and a good one with a crowd and flares and smoke bombs and everything is creates the atmosphere. Although the club might not like for fines or whatever, but sure, that's why Danny created that GoFundMe page.
But it was just one of them nights where, even in the second half, I don't know if a lot of the time during the season we've seen them come out and whatever's been said at half time, I'm not sure it hasn't worked, but players just didn't look like they wanted to give it in the second half. But these lads look like if the game had went on for another half an hour tonight, they could have played for another half an hour and grabbed a couple of goals. There just seems to be a different energy. And I keep going back to the fans, but it looks like over the last couple of weeks, their fitness has slightly gone up as well. And you've got certain people, like I see it mentioned there with Greg Slogger. Greg Slogger had a great game.
Yeah,
I think Leahy at the back was outstanding at centre half. I know, look, there's a bit of whether he's a centre half or a left full back, but at the minute he's playing centre half, I thought he was top class. I know we got mad at the match, a lot of names coming in. I definitely think he'd be in the mix, but obviously the 2 boys have had a great game. Murray scoring twice, but I thought Leahy was excellent. Cleary was normal. Dan, he puts in a cracking shift, but then for the goal, he gets a little bit caught off. He kind of at this stage he probably has to cover the full back, which he really shouldn't have to do. But I just thought it never looked like we were going to lose. It was just one of those games.
The longer went on there was 5-6 goals there for us. When you think of Duffy's 1-on-1, and there was blocks coming in at the last minute. They just had massive. Look, I know Bulger's a massive player for them. Yeah. But it seemed like they just missed that sort of a leader or somebody to drive their squad tonight. And look, we all hate playing against Bulger, and he loves playing against us too. He's always bang up for those games. So I just thought that little bit of fight just went missing from then today. But look, I'm not going to complain, because we've been on the end of those sort of matches all season long. So two decent games at home, 2 decent results at home. It's funny, when you get a round of applause when your keeper comes out and just catches the ball or holds on to it. It tells you how low our goalkeeping position got at one stage, that they were all overloaded, that a keeper just came out and caught a ball. So I think Flano might need to go and get some sort of oxygen or something, because complaining of it.
He drove home tonight, probably up the M1 with the head at the window. Yeah, to try and clear the throat. To
be fair, there's 1 or 2 Greg Sloggett nominations coming in now as well.
He's one of those players that kind of goes under the radar.
I think so.
I seen a lot of people on Twitter shocked that he was linked with Derry. I don't know why that would be a shock. During the week you hear all this, the money going into Derry and stuff, but it's not a shock. On his day, he's excellent. He just hasn't. he hasn't had the best run for us at early doors in the season. But just we were talking at the start about having Mickey Duffy coming off the bench. Like, I don't think anybody else runs down that ball for the third goal. I know. I think it's been, is it gone as an own goal? I don't think it's open, is it? We didn't see a lot of replay on it.
I was just going to say, I think Stephen Todd was having a go at me for saying that this person scored twice, so he thought he was having a go at me and maybe had to. But as far as I know, it looked like the defender is, like, whether Hooven gives him a wee nudge or something, it does just come off him and in. But like you say, the run to it.
The club Twitter is saying that. The club Twitter is saying that Hoban got 2 goals tonight. They just put up an interview with him and said he got another 2.
Yeah. The club also knows that Filippo and Shane weren't sacked when Cleveland were, so we take that with a pinch of salt. Lads.
I think there was a graphic going around Twitter tonight with Filippo as the manager. Did somebody have that up earlier on?
It might have been on. I don't know.
Street.
Was that on the stream?
Someone said it was on the stream.
When happened to my day.
Oh, jeez. But it was just on mention the third goal from Duffy. Like, there's not many, not to say there's not many, but from Duffy to come out and run that ball down, a lot of players would have gave it up. And just to hit it first time, the instinct is probably stop it because he's so much space. But just to drill it across, and it's just moments like that. I think if we're going back maybe 6 or 7 games ago, he doesn't do that. The confidence isn't there. The crowd aren't behind him. So he probably just stops the ball and tries to take another touch and cross it in, and it goes nowhere. But it's imagination. It's probably more just off the cuff stuff, and it's just instinct now with him. So when they're in that flow, they have this natural instinct. And look, it could have went anywhere, but I think he's drilled it perfectly. And again, if Hoban's got it, that's 2 for him as well. But I just thought nights like that in Oriel have badly been missed. And I'm not saying it would have changed a lot in the season, but when you have results like that, it's hard to argue when it's an empty stadium rather than, was it 2,000 tonight? Is it? Well, if there was 2,000,
I'd say it was over there, wasn't it?
It probably was. Yeah, I'd have snaked them in so well.
I've actually missed what the official announcement was.
Call it 2.5.
There we go. Is this where Gally, me and you sit back and we let Pingu talk about Hooben's performance tonight?
I think he's gonna have to.
Pingu,
can I shock you, lads?
Go on.
I thought Hooben was excellent tonight.
Yeah, but yeah, get in, that. Yo, hit the screen grab there.
Yeah, no, I did. I thought he was excellent tonight. I didn't get to watch the game on Tuesday, but I was listening to Flano. But I don't always trust Flano because he says certain players are great no matter what. So I have to watch it with my eyes first before I call.
You be careful because Flano's watching tonight because he's commenting in here, so he'll be back onto you fairly quick now.
Oh, don't worry. It's all right. His mate Gally will stick up for him now in a minute anyway. But no, look, honestly, look, I want to make this point because another couple of podcasts brought out this week after the game on Tuesday and said, that Hooben has come in for unfair criticism, etc., throughout the season, and probably some of that is directed at me because I've been very critical of him at times this season. I don't want to say at times for most of the season I've been critical of Pat, but can I start by saying, look, Pat is a Dundalk FC legend and he'll go down as a Dundalk FC legend. And when you've done what he's done and you've scored the amount of goals that he's scored, he sets an enormous bar for himself. The thing that frustrates me with Pat is, so when I'm watching the games and when I'm doing the analysis on this here with you lads, I try to take off my Dundalk FC support hat and put on my coaching hat because I want the analysis of the players to be as fair and impartial as possible. As a striker, there's times when the ball is passed into Pat, or has been, not including today, because today he done a really good job of it, but there's been times this season where a ball has been passed into Pat, it doesn't get to him, he's the closest man to the defender that's won the ball, and he just stops and lets them run straight by him. So that's where a lot of my frustration around Pat comes from. Where Dundalk play a pressing game, and he's one of these players that I was just laughing at some of these comments, but Stephen Todd's been texting me privately as well, so he's not winning any pizza tonight, no matter how hard he tries. But what I'm trying to get across is, as a striker, you want someone to put that kind of pressure on to just alleviate pressure from coming back to us. And this season we've been under a hell of a lot of pressure. So you want someone like Pat to chase down the ball and try win it back. And when he hasn't done that, it's been extremely frustrating. You sit and watch Davy Mack, and I compared him to Davy Mack, and I think Flano called me out about a month ago on this. You compare him to Davy Mack that works himself into the ground and can't play 90 minutes because he does that donkey work. And we haven't seen it from Pat probably until the last 2 weeks, and he's starting to hit form. And I have no problem saying I'm wrong in situations like this. Yeah, I know, Flano. I want them to score goals, but I also want them to do his job when we don't have the ball as well. Because they're all fucking winding me up here.
This is the most entertainment I've ever had on this show, lads.
But you know what, Pat, in fairness, Pat's the kind of player that responds to criticism as well. I'm not saying it's me. He's not responding to me.
Probably is.
But I don't know if you remember when Stephen Kenny left.
Bingo. I think Vinny has all your comments pinned in his locker.
He would only he doesn't look at social media.
Oh yeah, you're okay then. Good.
That's right.
So he wouldn't have any of that. But no, like Pat, I don't know if you remember when Stephen Kenny left in 2018, and who do you call it? And Vinny took over and won the league and everything. Pat said at the time, I think he got interviewed at the end of the 2019 season, and he said we wanted to prove we're not a Stephen Kenny team. You know that all the success wasn't his. So he responds to criticism. I had a phone call with his agent Liam Carroll a while back, probably not about anything really to do with football, but Liam mentioned that he listens to the podcast and watches it every week. I'm not saying that it comes from us, but the criticism that Pat got, just in general, because I know I'm not the only one that has criticised some of his performances, has probably got back to Pat. And some of the criticism of the team over the last couple of weeks has probably got back to Pat. And I don't doubt that that's probably motivated us.
Yeah, but yeah, call it early. It's only, what time is it? It's only the 10 to 11, I suppose. It's not that early.
Well, this is compared to the last game, lads. So someone can wake up Flano now. Fingers finished.
Flano's only sleeping because he's too busy smelling the hash in the shed. He's all about smoke bombs. I'd say it's some other kind of smoke.
No, it wasn't.
No, I know what you mean, Finger. I know what you mean.
Cheers, Callie.
It's frustrating. Yeah, I get like it is. It's. I think you want, as you said, he's a club legend. You want more each week from him. Look, but that's. I think as a you're right when you say you take off your Dundalk hat to kind of look at it, and you know, like there's been a lot of players down the years that played that role and didn't get a quarter of the goals he's gotten, and you just kind of want that all the time. And when you're in a rut like Dundalk have been, you kind of maybe those moments when he's not scoring or he's maybe giving up on the ball, they're probably more analysed, they're probably more magnified. So yeah, I do get what you mean, and I know Flana's probably sitting home wetting himself, but that's what it's all about. I got it for Vinny for weeks, so it's nice to pass the buck on it.
Next week I'll talk about Vinny.
I just we're talking about Pat. It finished for the fourth goal was he took it so well. It was, and I have to mention as well, Cleary's ball into now whether it was intentional or not to go to Duffy for the third one, I don't know, but it was an absolute peach. He'd probably tell people that he done it on purpose, but just talking with Hoban, look, an excellent game. His he seemed to be, I don't know if it's our pitch or it's just Sligo a little bit underwhelmed, or our squad isn't great tonight. He seemed quicker. He seemed faster across the ground tonight. Now he is quick anyway, but he seemed to have that little bit of extra pace tonight. But his finish for the fourth goal, I thought was excellent. Well deserved. Even if he doesn't get the actual official record of the own goal, but I thought he was excellent tonight. Yeah, definitely up there.
Stephen Todd wants him to get these 2 goals tonight.
Yeah, he must have had a bet on. Maybe Todd had a bet on, did he?
Well, he's not betting on a pizza. That's one thing for sure.
But in all round, like these podcasts are too few far between. It's
lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. There's no real. The only criticism is Jokovskis for the goal, but even at that, sure, if you gave one of them every week and we played the rest, it's grand. If we've done everything else, there's not a problem.
Here's the thing: is in the last 2 games we only conceded 1 goal, so we were averaging more than a goal every last few games, and then you think we've put 7. If we scored 7 and 2, we were dreaming of this, lads.
And that's what we were saying here last week. What was it last Friday? Well, we last Friday, Chris. Who were we playing?
Is that not Harps 3-3 draw?
46. I can't. But we said this.
Yeah.
Was it Harps? Yeah, it was. Yeah, and then we said we 3 games at home, so it could change. You know, it could gain you a couple of extra points down the line. These 3 matches at home, 3 consecutive runs. So we Bows then on Monday night, and it's not going to make or break the season, but I mean, it gives us that little bit of momentum. A couple of wins. We start to slowly, very, very slowly. I mean, all results didn't go.
Is the match in hand?
This is the match in hand, yeah. So this is Monday night's a big game because we talked about it for weeks. It's already having a match in hand, but you got to get the point on the board when the game comes up. And the results didn't go our way tonight. I'm nearly sure the game's all finished the way they meant the way earlier on. But everybody won tonight, so it's at least we're staying up. We're keeping up with the Joneses. It would have been a pity if we could have got some points off somewhere else, but. No, an excellent night all around. You can't really fault him in any way whatsoever. Even the young fella that came on, I thought he was excellent. And I actually thought Han.
Yeah, people are going with his work rate and that. I think.
Yeah, his fitness is.
They were saying, he put in a shift tonight again. So.
I'd like to see the step on, but I think he covered a lot of ground tonight. He really did.
Frank Carlin just had just when we're still talking about Pat there, and it was something I was actually discussing on the way out of the ground, is when Pat just gets the captain's armband for the past few matches, it seems to kind of transformed his. Maybe he's thinking that look, I'm captain now. I'm standing captain. I need to up the game. I can't be the one slack, and I can't be. Look, I know Pinger, you would say you're just looking for a little bit more energy from him maybe at times, and maybe that's what the captain's armband actually gives him is that little bit extra energy for it, because is that 5 goals in 3 games for him?
I think so, yeah.
Is it 3?
That's a phenomenal return. Well,
I think he's actually hasn't he scored in the last 4?
Yeah, probably has.
That's as well as 3. It could be 4.
Oh yeah, he scored in Sligo as well. Yeah.
Like he'd be classed. We're talking about the captain. He'd be classed as probably one of the elder. He's probably 30. I think he's 30 now, is he? Like he'd be classed as one of the elder statesmen, even though he's been in his prime. But he's been there. When we were talking about this era of footballers, he's there a long time. Now, obviously, you'd like to think he doesn't need the captain's armband to kind of become that leader. But I mean, if it works and it gives people that mental edge, and I'm all for it. I know Andy Boyle is generally the man there, but. Yeah, I think when he put it on, I think he gave it to the young for the other night as well, Anis Mahoon, and he gave it to him, and it's things like that you got to step up at times like that. I think he led by example tonight. I think Murray again with him. Murray was outstanding. I think the two of them ran the game tonight completely. But also Lee, I put Lee in that bracket as well. I think Lee had a great game.
Just something, Gally, I just noticing on the comments tonight. So apologies for anyone commenting in via Twitter. It seems to be they moved over from Periscope to Twitter, and I'm not getting any comments through tonight. So I'll try my best to keep an eye on the Twitter page just for comments that come in on that. But I'm sure by the next show it'll be fixed. So it seems to be just YouTube and Facebook. We're getting people's comments tonight. So apologies if anyone else is in. If we haven't, we're just blanking people on Twitter tonight. We're not.
It's
just because we're happy. People, I don't want people to think we're not talking to them. So so did Bows finish 2-1 tonight then?
As far as I know, all results stayed the same. I think Rovers got could score a own goal in the 92nd minute to beat Pats.
It seemed to be we're kind of running in now to play Bows maybe at the right time. Then are we? That I think by suggesting that, but they looked fairly gettable at the back all of a sudden, and you think of our form of how we're scoring goals all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think
you give him a chance. If you had asked me 2 weeks ago about that fixture, I'd be dreading it.
Yeah, and if it's in daily mount, you probably wouldn't be thinking, But the fact that we've got this run now, I know we call it a run. It's 2 games, but I mean it's 2 games we couldn't get together during the season. It's with the fans at home. I think Bows would be a little bit more nervous now coming up on Monday night. I think playing anybody Monday night with the 3 games in a week at home, I think anybody coming to Oriel Park Monday night would be up against it. I think we shouldn't fear anybody coming up. Because when them fans are back, that team look like a different animal. Now, I don't know if that's just us looking at the game tonight and the game on Tuesday against Finn Harps. But you have to take it for what it is. Fans are back in the stadium. The boys are playing better football. So if that's what it is and that's what it looks like, then that's what you want. And Monday night, I think boys would be very fearful of coming up, but especially when it's that game in hand. I think we're not calling out results yet, but yeah, I definitely wouldn't fear them. Look, you've seen Georgie Kelly's goal during the week, and it's no secret. I think people think I seen a lot of Twitter during the week about him. And people said, "Oh, Dundalk fans didn't know what they had." Believe me, Dundalk fans knew exactly how good Georgie Kelly was. He wasn't let him go. It was a club decision. He had Pat in front of him, but people knew as soon as he signed. People knew how good he was. And if you weren't watching then, unfortunately, you missed. Like he was excellent at Oriel. Now he's gone up a level since he went to Bows. He didn't really do it at Pats. But I mean, we can try and keep
the system may not have suited him at
No.
Pats and how they were playing. Towards it seems to be he gets a lot of play in directly into him now, and that's his game. Look, probably when he was playing behind Pat, when he was at Oriel Park, he's seen what a big target man can do and how to play, and you can see he's got little things that he can play with his back to goal a lot better now than he did when he was with us.
Yeah,
he was a bit of a target man that we used to hit with late high balls up towards him. Towards now, I think he's more of an overall player, and he only became that. I mean, you think of him at the start of the season, he wasn't really tearing up trees or anything like that. But as the season went on, and you think of the players he has, playing so well around him, I think that's probably transformed him a fair bit too. And getting playing that many matches with good quality all around him has just had that effect. Would he have got that at Oriel Park if you had to say? Probably not.
Yeah.
You'd be probably looking at being third choice striker right now.
Yeah.
Easily, with all the injuries he had, he would have. But
and there's no way a player like that hangs around. I know he got his loan to Pats, but
he shouldn't though.
No, and rightly so. Like we took him in from UCD. He was kind of the next. There was talk of during the week, Kenny calling him up to the Ireland squad. I mean, he's been unbelievable for both. And Alan Cawley did call it at the start of the year. I do remember a podcast, and he said he is the best centre forward in the league. If he gets a run of games at Bows, he will become the best centre. And he nailed it. I mean, Cawley he'd be well up on everything in the league. And I kind of thought he was a wee bit off. I still think Hoban on his day on McMillan, but George has been right up there. But Dundalk fans have thought we knew this years ago. We knew how good he could be. And just to confirm that finished, Finn Harps beat Bows. So that's, it's something.
Not great for Finn Harps, but with Bows,
it's a great win for Finn Harps. But it's a nightmare scenario for Bows because if we turn them over Monday night, that's 2 in a row. That could put them on a little bit of a downward spiral for the next couple of weeks. But again, we still have to go out and beat them. And at Oriel on Monday night after the last 2 games, I wouldn't fear anybody coming up, with the exception of maybe Rovers, but I wouldn't fear anybody.
Do you think, Pingu, I'll probably come to you on this one, right? I'm just thinking with, when you think how low things got in that 3-3 draw with Harps, and you're thinking, are we still this easy to play against? But then you would say we were 84 minutes away from absolutely cruising in that game, but then collapsed. You turn around and if you add up all the extra time and full time to beat Harps 3-1, which sounds quite convincing when you put it that way, but then tonight's performance backs that up and you're thinking, all right, now there's something. Is there a little fear factor back at Oriel Park, do you think?
Yeah, you would like to think so. I definitely think tonight is a signal of intent. I think that performance tonight, I think people are going to be afraid to come to Oriel Park after that. I think, as I said, 2-3 weeks ago, people were probably thinking to themselves, Oriel's an easy point at least, the way we were playing.
It's a fair comment though, because we nearly were though.
Yeah. But I think tonight, I know obviously you talked a little bit earlier that Buljo was missing for Sligo, but I mean that's still a pretty strong Sligo team that they had out there tonight, and we're not at full strength. I know it was pretty strong, as some people are saying in the comments. You have Leahy playing centre back, who's not a centre back, so I just think from what I've seen anyway, from what I've seen tonight, I think if we can just get a run together, and I know it's going to be tough because we have so many games coming up in the next couple of weeks, or in the next week even, another 2 games. It's going to be difficult to keep the run together, but if we can get a positive result Monday, I mean, nobody's going to want to come to Oriel Park. Nobody's going to want to play against us.
Even just having a undefeated run now, Gally, that's even something, because we were just throwing away silly points all season long. So I think just to be back to those teams that not play well but still pick up something in it, I'd nearly take that still.
Like a run of draws wouldn't be bad at this stage, but like, I mean, would you've got like a run for us, 2 games, to win 2 games on the bounce, and the way they've won them as well. I know, like, it went to extra time on Tuesday night, but you know, they come through it like they did tonight in particular. Like, Sligo Rovers, they've probably one of the best seasons for the last, probably since they won the league. And if they can carry that in, even just for another game, another maybe 2 games, because it'll keep agents like us off their backs. It'll give us a couple of positive podcasts for a couple of weeks. But you know, it's especially when it's a game in hand. The game in hand is the thing, because you know, it's all well and good. We said it a million times. It's all really good having those games, but you got to make them count. And look, you got to make every game count at this stage of the season. But a run of 3 or 4 matches, and even beyond, once they can, like you said at the start, we've only conceded now. If you keep the goals conceded to 1 even, and we can keep going the way we're going in the far end, you know, results will come, and we'll be very tough to beat. Like, we're down a couple of players tonight. You know, we've got a makeshift centre half pairing, but I didn't think they faltered too much. I thought Leahy was excellent. He actually was very comfortable playing left centre back. But yeah, a run of games into Monday night. Like, you're only thinking about the next game anyway. But Monday night, another big game, and hopefully they can come through it. Not, you know, you take 1-0, but I mean, I don't see why they can't repeat what they done tonight.
Even the semi-final is like 5-6 weeks away, isn't it, as well? So it's
20 something, is it? Yes, it's a month away anyway. It's at least a month.
At least you can concentrate on league now for a while.
Yeah,
and, you know, it's a exact focus. Dad, shall we start having a look at our man of the match competition?
I was trying to add it up there. And
for Pat has come in.
It's very close. There's I don't know if some people are drinking. People have voted twice for Sean Murray and Pat Hoban. So by automatic default, he's cancelled yourselves out of the competition.
So that rules Stephen Todd's disqualified.
There's people started with Pat Hoban and then went, oh, no, wait, Sean Murray.
Well, Darren Meehan said it's a toss-up between Hoban and Murray, 2 excellent. So does that count him out?
Well,
he's gone too.
He won the pizza before. I know he won a mug.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Flan, like Leahy deserves a mention as well. Now, he won't be in the. I'm just looking at the numbers. He won't be in that, but Leahy would definitely be in there for me. I thought he was top class.
There you're 24th of October. Cheers for that.
24th. There we go.
So it's a fair bit away there. So we'll take
Sunday.
That.
Yeah.
No, back to back, we play Pats as well. He said.
Oh Jesus. Right, there's a late run on Hoban going on here. Gally, I'll let you go first as I find someone for us.
With the results, like I had in mind, Sean Murray for me. I won't keep it too long, but for me, Sean Murray, to influence the game like he did, whether or not Hoban play, you know, gets on the end of stuff, whether the team ticks they did tonight without the likes of Sean Murray, I don't know. But just shading it for me, Sean Murray's my man of the match today.
Pingu,
sticking with yours?
Yeah. I think the way that he brought players into the game was great. He chased down centre half, so he's gonna get a vote in my book for that. Just for that alone.
Can we get you just to mention his name though, just because we're recording this time?
Patrick John Hoban.
Patrick John Hoban.
So it lies with me then, is it?
Yeah.
The casting vote. I feel staying up now till 2:00 the other night. This is justified, considering you two weren't here. For me, it's Murray as well. Do you know what was one of his most important pieces of play? It was halfway through the second half. It was a bit of a lost cause, and the ball was kind of running a little into the corner, and Hoban was kind of jogging over towards him, and Murray came over, put a bit of pressure onto the player. They switched it over to the far side, and he legged it one side of the pitch to the other just to put pressure on them. and between himself and Sammy, they ended up, giving away the ball. The Sligo players ended up giving away the ball out for a throw in a needless situation. I just thought that's what we've missed. Someone just finally harassing a little bit and putting players under the pressure for that. So for that,
it just seemed to be what we were missing. It seemed to be just that player in behind the strikers, just giving a little bit of a break. And I just thought he was excellent. I mean, look, it'll be a toss up between the two. I do think Leahy comes into it, but just for the brace he scored in the first half, I think I can't see anything but him.
I'm wondering, lads, for the for one of our number one fans who dedicated tonight, his dad Ken messaged in earlier on to say Dylan's a big fan of us. I think we'll give it to Ken because he said Murray tonight, but we kind of wanted to go to Dylan. What do we think of that?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Yeah,
he would. As long as Dylan places the order,
he'll never see that pizza.
We're happy though. So congratulations to the Bogan household tonight, winners of the Tony's Pizza. So we want a picture of that online just to make sure that's legit. We need to see Dylan actually eating a slice, just to be 100%. Pingu, are you okay for time, or you got to run?
Yeah, I've got another 5 minutes.
Just before you go, then I think there's I think most of social media this week kind of erupted after the LOI Central podcast this week, where they had the head of RT Sport in. What did you make of the conversation? What did you make of his reaction, I suppose, to some of the questions that was put?
I haven't got listening to it yet, to be honest.
Great, I'm glad I asked you.
And I caught about 3/4 of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I thought he had some fair points.
Hmm.
I do think he's kind of. It's the first time I've ever heard him talk. I never actually heard him on a podcast or anything like that. I do think he raised some good issues, but some of the stuff was a wee bit. You're better with words, Chris. What's the word I'm looking for? It was a wee bit kind of. I just felt he wasn't really getting it. So I think he was kind of just a wee bit too far. Like if he was to just stand as an ordinary citizen or an ordinary kind of fan, he probably wouldn't side with the views he had. I do think he made some good points. I like obviously you don't agree with anybody getting the abuse that the levels that he's talking about, the RT fans at games and stuff like that, or RT staff. But generally when it comes to fans and it comes to League of Ireland, the fans very rarely get it wrong. They're very rarely out. Some people overstep them off, but it's very rare they're out of line. So to come out with some of the stuff that he said, I think I had actually a quote for him, but my phone's actually gone dead. There was a couple of quotes I had from him, but I'd like to get him. I'd like to get him talking to a fan forum. That's right. I'd like to put him talking. I know he's in a League of Ireland Central, right? You'd like to get him in front of some fans and a discussion. I think he's good for the game, but I do think some of the stuff that he made regarding people getting threatened and I don't know whether that actually I don't know if there's proof for that. I don't know if he's just talking about that. I'm not here to say he's telling lies, but it's hard. I don't want to say I would get us in trouble, but I just think he came across well, but I would have my reservations that he's coming at it from his own side and his own kind of. It'd be like us going on a Shamrock Rovers podcast and talking, telling us we all hate Shamrock Rovers because we have Dundalk jerseys. It'd be that type of level of, so it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to make too much of a clinical remark on it. But look, he had some good points.
I think he had some valid points, and his points over, for League of Ireland, we all need to take a look at ourselves and look at what's actually going out on camera and how does that look is a fair point. But that's not a conversation. That shouldn't be a reason for him going on like technically a fan podcast to say these are the reasons we won't. That should be him sitting down with the FAI saying we've an issue here that the package doesn't look great on TV because the stadia across the league in most parts isn't good enough. So how do we improve that? And then the FAI, RT, or any of the broadcasters need then to go to government and say, well, hang on a second, this domestic football in this country, if we look at the senior team, has X amount of league players in it, but we're struggling to improve the package on TV. We need to increase stadia across it. So let's look at the Sports Council and getting better grants across the way. And that's one way to do it. But, it shouldn't be a reason to be given out to the fans saying, well, this is why we can't do it because it's not there. He should be saying, well, actually, we'd love to do it more, but the package doesn't look good on TV. And as a result, we talked to the FAI and we've talked to the FAI have gone to talk to government, and we're hoping that will improve. But what annoyed me was he was kind of saying, well, the package is 15 games and then we'll stick with whoever the top team is in Europe. But surely that goes out the window when you get, like Bows playing Pauk, it's such a big game. Yeah. There was nobody else playing that night. You got to say, well, that's the big one. Even us playing Rapid Vienna, or Rapid Vienna, do you hear me? Vitesse Arnhem that time. That's a big game. They're a big team, big European teams. That attracts the neutral fan. Like that's the whole point of this. Like you look at the attendances the Bows will get. Some of them were just neutral fans walking down just to play, just to see a game of football in the Aviva. Now the Aviva and us playing in Tallaght Stadium, they're two good backdrops. So his argument saying we can't do more games because the backdrop doesn't look good. You're trying to tell me the Aviva in Tallaght Stadium is not up to scratch now. Yeah. So that annoyed me. I was like, well, you can't do that. And then I thought, well, why is the package 15 games? And why are we not looking outside that? Every so often, like there's, if you look, there's a North-East derby, there's several Dublin derbies, there's a Louth derby, there's a Munster derby, there's loads that can go on. There's appetite for that. But showing a random game every so often, like to say Dundalk versus Sligo tonight, like it's not a top billing in any way, but you can be damn sure in the next round of fixtures there's something very important happening, but that won't be televised.
Yeah, and it's like we'll go back to this where there's people kind of dictating about what way the league should be done, and it's like they've never watched the game. It's like they've never been actively involved at it. Now, this guy seems to be someone who could be very beneficial.
Yeah, like he's coming from Monaghan. He's not a Dublin centric, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He's excluded in where there's top facilities all around it. He knows what it's like to have poor facilities, to be marginalised close to a border like that. Yeah. So I think he gets that part absolutely. Yeah.
But like even like you said there about the European games, like if you just followed the top team, like they can have a nightmare run.
Yeah,
and they're out the first night. Well, then show right. Well, what do you do then? You just ask them right. Like there's no foresight. It's typical.
The Champions League, they showed Shamrock Rovers versus AC Milan.
Yeah.
I think with that, like, I think part of it is they want to show the team struggling. Like the Champions route is an easier route where you're playing better teams. So what's the chances of success realistically?
Yeah,
I mean, it's few and far between. And then if a Rovers or a Dundalk gets knocked out in the first round, it justifies their decision not to show league games.
Yeah.
I mean, what I think needs to be done is, you need the FAI, you need the government, you need RT. They all need to sit down in a room and say what needs to be done to market this, because like my mother and father went over to Liverpool to see my brother today, and those boats are full of people going to Manchester, going to Liverpool, etc. Mm-hmm. A couple of years ago, you had one of these online football magazines went to the Dublin derby.
Yes.
Remember they done a video about it.
Yes.
If grounds were improved, and they don't need to be improved drastically. Well, I mean, Oriel Park needs a drastic improvement, but if you improve the grounds, I think you will get people that'll come and watch it. Like Dundalk, given the profile we had in 2016, given the profile we had last year in Europe, Dundalk is now a recognizable brand in world football. Like I'd walk down the street in Chicago, and not all the time, but to be occasionally where I'd wear the Dundalk gear, and they're like, oh, Dundalk FC, an English lad would walk by me and they say, oh, I know them from when they played Arsenal.
Are they Pete Six employees?
No, they're English. I don't walk by the office anymore.
Pete Six would know who Dundalk well.
But no, but what I'm like, what I'm saying is they're a recognizable brand, and then to go and tell them watch a game on Oriel Park. And as he says, and it is a fair point that he makes, the backdrop doesn't look great, but you need government funding. Like I think someone was saying, like in Iceland, I think that has a fraction of the population that we have, and their government provides something like 30 million to their local team, to their league teams every year. What does the Irish clubs get a year? I think they have to pay 15 grand to enter the league. But that was up until recently. They have to pay.
It still is, yeah. You pay for your license.
So you don't get anything from the governing body. You don't get anything from your government. Like that's just ludicrous.
Frank Carlin just has a very good point in there, just saying, a simple way they could help this, like the prize fund for winning the league is what, 150 grand. Considering you got to take your costs out for coming in and then to run the club for the rest of the year, like that's pittance, and that's to go the whole season and win it. We really need to look at now. He's throwing out figures, 1 million to the winner, 500,000 seconds, 300. But imagine that sort of money in the league filtering down. Yeah. You'd be talking like a bottom club, and that could potentially still earn 50,000 for finishing last.
Yeah,
like that's massive money to
50 grand's massive. Yeah, massive. Like, without being disrespectful to first division teams.
Very good point there.
Yeah, like if there was if you're finishing bottom of the first division, you're getting kind of, or even if you're being relegated, whatever it is in the Premier, there's more interest even from teams. Like, how many teams have been invited to join the league that will not just refuse to go into the League of Ireland because it costs so much more? Like, is it Castlebar? Are they asked year on year? And because the setup they have is incredible, but it costs them that much money. They're just like, why would you go near it?
I think that's kind of what Maynooth and that were kind of even questioning it as well. It's like they have a great setup on what they have, and what's the point in them stepping up, because the operational cost is just going to be
and you have Carlo IT there, another setup. We were at the pitch of Carlo IT 2 years ago, and the setup there now, there's no stand, but I mean the setup is unbelievable. But why would a team from Carlo go into the league? Just the price on it is just ridiculous.
If you were somewhere mid-table in the first division and could still come out with maybe 20 grand from it, a couple of seasons in there, you can start improving your facilities. But
ideally what you'd want, the minimum you'd want back is your cost covered. That's the minimum. Like you can't go and charge 40 quid for a game of football to 100 fans. You've only got 100, 150 fans going to games. UCD have struggled, but they've got facilities.
Yeah.
But the minimum, obviously you don't get exorbitant costs. You get the minimum covered, and if you go over that, that's your own fault. But you should be at least looking to recoup what you've put into the league to join, and you don't even get that. It's just, there's no incentive. And look, I know we've got great clubs there and great people working at it, but there's only so much. Like, I know he's hammered the fans in a bit of the interview, but fans can't do much more. Like, I mean, they pay, like, what, 20, 30 quid into game, well, 20 quid into games, 10 or into the ground, as you see in Oriel Park. What more can people do? Season tickets, League of Ireland fees, League of Ireland TV fees.
It needs substantial funding.
Yeah.
Whether they're given as, I mean, Pingo, you probably see there from, teams well below the MLS standard, but they're playing in, you often hear Kieran Kilduff talk about when he was at Armada and stuff like that. Like, the facilities, even below the top level, are top class, aren't they, in America?
Yeah. I mean, there's a new team just started in Chicago this year, and they're playing Chicago House Athletic Club, and they're playing in a stadium of, I think it's 25,000, and they're only getting about 1,000 people at the game, but they're playing in a 25,000 seater stadium. And they literally set up, I think they announced they were set up this day last year. I just saw it on LinkedIn today, and they only started playing their first game about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they're playing in a 25,000 seater stadium. It's mad. It's mad, but you need that government investment. That's the biggest thing. I think that from what you are saying, as I say, I haven't listened to the podcast yet, but from what you're saying, he's throwing his blame at the wrong people.
Yeah.
It's we can get into a big John Delaney debate and FEI debate, but that's probably better.
And that all has legacy issues, and I don't think that should be dismissed either.
No, but you know what, the FEI and the national government missed the boat in 2016. With Dundalk getting into the group stage, not only getting into the group stage but winning games. That was when money should have been. They should have been kind of parked. The rear should have parked up and been like, right, we need to do something here, you know, because by all accounts, you know, with everything obviously that's happening with Dundalk right now, I think Dan said it on our pod, didn't he, that, you know, the FEI have tried to get some people to buy the club, you know, but it shouldn't be in a position for that. You know, if you have good enough government funding, you might still have Fastfix in charge now, and better facilities, and that's all you want. Governments to fund facilities, and let the volunteers and let the club workers concentrate on the on-field stuff, because that's all they can afford to do anyway. But if the government's all, and look, we've had this conversation obviously with the GAA pitch and DKIT, and no funding for Dundalk, closer to home. But you know, Finn Harps wanted a new stadium at one point. How long did it take at loan to get their stadium?
Yeah.
Well, I say a stadium, it's not even a stadium. They get a stand. You know what I mean? It's not even a stadium. It is, yeah. But you know what I'm saying is, like, it still doesn't look great. Then when we watched the cup semi-final last year, it looks like it looks like Coot Hill Harps ground almost. You know.
Don't you dare! Don't you drag Coot Hill Harps into this? How dare you?
But you know what I'm saying is, some of these grounds look amateur, and I can see where he's coming from that point. But like, I don't understand, why do you blame supporters? Supporters don't, and we've said this about Oriel Park for years, is, you know, people don't want to come to subpar facilities.
Yep.
And if in my opinion, it should be government funded on ground development only, and let the rest of it take care of itself. And then that money is pigeonholed to one side, and it's only for ground development.
Yeah.
Put me in front of Leo Varadkar, I'll sort it. Me and Patrick John's gonna go up to the government and sort it.
Oh yeah, none of your football friends.
Your best mates,
yeah.
Gents, this has actually been a good night and a good vibe, and I think we'll get back to you know, we'll let Pingu actually listen to that podcast, and he come back with another opinion then for us. I'm joking, Pingu. but like, I think there's definitely there's element to that. I think his conversation of using certain tools against us to knock down the league and reasons not to do it, well, I think that should be a reason for us to kick on and start using. We got to use this, you know, that's on a public platform now. Who does that responsibility land with? That's where we all need to push now, as a league and everything. I think one thing I don't think the lads really touched on was, you know, the Women's League is now being picked up with TG Akara to start broadcasting somewhere. Why couldn't the League of Ireland be tied in with that too? I don't know.
Because that would be common sense.
Yeah, and then he was talking about the domestic game, but the domestic game was including the senior squads, under 21s, 19, 17. Some of them were going on RT player and whatever. I think this bundling of the national team and our national league together, it doesn't work, because what happens is they care so much about the national team when it comes to the national league, they couldn't care less. We're obliged to show 15 matches, including cup. We'll do that. That's the bog basic we want to do. I don't know anybody who just have a passing interest to, you know, and want to stay involved with an interest in the league if they only see 15 games over the course of a full season. You'd be like, well, what happened to that team? I saw them at the opening game of the season. I saw them a bit in the middle. I saw a bit of a cup run, and at the end, what happened to that team in the middle that I seen at the very start? You know, you couldn't get yourself hooked as they call them, armchair viewers and stuff like that. You know, bar stoolers who are only checking in every so often. How do you hook them at all?
Yeah.
If you're only going to show 15 games in a full season, I don't get that. So
and most channels across the world, you have 15 games at a weekend.
Yeah,
you know, like
exactly. And look, and he was saying, you know, this can't be a blame just at RT's feet either. You know, we have other broadcasters in this country, and I say, well then take it away from them. So say, here's your national team. Here's the rights for that. Here's the rights for this. Is anyone interested in it? If they're not, to say, who's interested in a block of 15? Who's interested in a block of 5? Who's interested in a block of 10 matches? And spread it up across 3-4 different broadcasters then.
Yeah.
You know, that's so all of a sudden we've gone from having 15 games to maybe 35 games very easily.
Well, I think that's been the problem, isn't it? That it has been tied to the RT deal. So
Yeah.
even if someone else was interested, they weren't able to show it.
And then you get 5 minutes of coverage after home and away before the
Yeah.
match starts. You think, well, that's no lead-in analysis for this at all. And they're saying, well, that's the only place it can fit in due to figures. But I don't think, like, to put something in front of, like, how are you going to have a passive interest? You can't attract more people into it to get a higher viewership if you're going to show it erratically like that. It doesn't make sense to me. If you show something constantly over the season, you would like to see, well, I showed a game every Friday, or like someone even mentioned on a Thursday night, could we have a TV exclusive? I think it was Johnny mentioned, should there be a TV exclusive on a Thursday night and the rest of the games then on a Friday night? And that game is the best game for that weekend, get moved to a Thursday, and then we show the rest of the games then after. So we make a little bit of a thing about a Thursday night football. Here it is as an exclusive, but you need that for a full season. So you're showing the results, you're showing tables, you're showing players. People can get hooked into a team or a player.
Invested in it, yeah.
Exactly. But to show 15 over a full season it's pointless, I think.
Yeah.
You need to preempt the games that are 15 absolute cracking games, and that, like, if you get 15 bad games, remember, been 15 out of 100 odd. If you get 15 shockers,
we've seen games where we've had a Louth derby, a Dublin derby, all in the same weekend.
Yeah.
Like, you look at
big games. See those big games as well. When he's talking about a backdrop, and you mentioned the Aviva about 5-10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
The likes of a Dublin derby. I think it's 4 rounds, isn't it? Is it 4 rounds of games?
Yeah.
Why not play 2 games at the Aviva of the Dublin derby, just as an example?
You're in America too long now. You want to franchise the Dublin derby.
But if you want to have that backdrop, the Dublin derby has really been the showcase game in the league over the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks well in Tala. It doesn't look as good when it's in Dalymount, because it will in a couple of years. But if they want to build it, that's the kind of game you need to be looking at and showing in a bigger setting, and show this is what we can have. Even just do it 1 year and do it as that experiment of this is what we want to have, and this is the style of football. Because you talk to a lot of people even in England, and
do you move your semi-finals of the FAI Cup then?
Move them there even and put them on RT
as a neutral venue, and then you're bringing in the passing by bigger audience in Dublin.
Exactly. Well, Chris, I know myself and yourself listen to Friday Live, even though we're not talking to Dale anymore, but he waxes lyrical about some of his mates that have started watching the league, and they'll say the standard of football is probably better than League 1, League 2 football. It's probably not too far off on a par with. He actually said it's more akin to European style of football, because the teams get there and they actually try and play a bit of ball. But it just, again, it goes back to that backdrop, that setting. It doesn't look as good or even tonight. You watch the game tonight, Oriel doesn't look great. But you put that maybe in the Aviva, or put the cup semi-final against Pats in the Aviva. Now it looks like a game. And when you see that football, I mean, you look at when we played against Arsenal. I watched Filippo had a clip up of the game. I think it was in the Aviva actually, on his LinkedIn last week, and playing against Arsenal, playing against a top team in England, and Dundalk FC is trying to play it around. And that's what you putting in that backdrop just looks far better. If you know what I'm trying to say, I think that.
Yeah, no, you're right. No. And that was his point as well. Like, so you're absolutely bang on.
Also, I was right. Cheers. I don't need to.
But like, there's loads of things. There's loads of things that we can do and should do better. And what they've done, when you think about when the Premier League broke away from the FA, it then got control of its own marketing, its own broadcast contracts, its own sponsorship contracts, and then pooled all that money and spread it back down through the Premier Division again. And now you'll think of how that's marketed. Do we need to come away from the FAI then as a league to kick into the next? Is there enough guidance currently in the FAI to bring us to a new level like that, or do we need to do our own thing? Is the next question, I suppose.
You know what? It'd be great. Nobody mentioned it over the last year or so. An All Ireland League. But you're right. No, you're right. To be fair, Chris, but I think the league or the FAI has to have some control over it, or else there can't be a senior international team.
Yeah,
You
but
need
the
to have an actual-
FA still look after guidance of referees and that.
Okay. Yeah.
And
I'm sure the FAI would be happy to
administration of the league, but everything else is taken away.
Yeah, I'm sure the FAI would be happy to give it up, but
Get rid of the problem, child.
yeah.
That's fair saying, yeah.
Can we wrap it up and leave it at that?
Yeah, before we go, I want to finish on a positive, Chris, if that's all right.
All right, Pat Hubin's awesome.
Yeah, Pat Hubin was class, but no, I just want to look at. There was obviously a lot of positivity this week around how impressive the supporters club meeting is. So it was disappointing to see a little bit of back and forth between two friends of the show, Brendan Ogle and live at Oriel, Mr. Jerry Malone today. So I'm putting this out on the airwaves today. I would like to see a charity boxing match between Jerry Malone and Brendan Ogle, with the proceeds going to Head in the Game, to a mental health charity, and we'll settle this feud and we get the two of them to shake hands at the end of it all.
I think poor Jerry's got a sore back at the moment. I'm not too sure how feasible this is.
Don't worry, we'll give him 6 months training. But I that's what I would like to see. I'd like to see Jerry and Brendan settle it in the ring.
Here's a gauntlet.
That's if he had to give me 10 guesses of what he was going to, the last thing he was going to say in the show, I wouldn't have got it.
No. To be fair, Finger, I'm going to give you that. I'll let you end on your very best. Let's get ready to rumble then.
All right. No, I'm going to go a different one. No Pat, no party.